More coverage from the National Governors Association meeting over the JW Marriott here in Washington later. And on your screen is Governor Rick Snyder, Republican of Michigan, of course, one of the participants in the AG meeting, NGA meeting. Good morning, Governor.
Good morning, Paul. It's great to be with you.
So what's your takeaway from a weekend so far of meetings here in Washington?
Well, we've had a lot of good discussions, but as your show's covering, the big issue is what's going to happen at the federal level, and that's a real concern.
What are you anticipating? Because we'll show the audience the New York Times headline again that says, as the governors meet, the White House is outlining a drop in aid to states. They laid it out in a report last night. What are you bracing for in Michigan?
Well, again, we're looking at cuts in many ways. One of the things I'd say, though, is this whole issue of getting to the sequester is a failure. I mean, that was the point of putting it in place to begin with. It wasn't supposed to happen. And that just illustrates the mess in Washington compared to the states. When you look at the states, I was sitting in a governor's meeting yesterday, and as I looked around the room, probably most of us in that room had to deal with budget cuts in the last 2 or 3 years, larger than what they're talking about, and we all got the job done. And the question is why can't it be done here in Washington in a more effective, thoughtful way?
Well, how about answering your own question, then? Why can't it be done in a more effective way?
Well, I believe it should be done in a better way. And one of the things I look at as a governor is we do need to do better in the public sector. So I've tried to be proactive about even talking about ideas on how we could participate, understanding that we need to cut the deficit. We need to have a better situation across the board for our citizens, our customers. So one idea I've brought up more than once is the concept of get rid of a number of the prescriptive programs. We have way too many programs from the federal government. And I'm not asking for a block grant, but let's do outcome-based programs, much fewer. And an illustration, Paul, would be in the workforce area. There's over 40-some federal programs. Let's sit down and agree on 5 different programs or 4 based on outcomes and get rid of all the overhead, all the administrative expense. That would reduce costs substantially, and we could provide better service.
Our guest will be with us for about 25 more minutes. He is Governor Rick Snyder of Michigan. He's a Republican, and we'll point out to our audience, in addition to our regular phone lines, there is a 4th line this morning just for folks in Michigan. That number is 202-585-3883. We welcome your comments. I'm sure the governor does as well. To that White House report, Governor Snyder, they decide to highlight here teachers in schools, and they point out that your state is going to lose about $22 million in funding for primary and secondary education, putting around 300 teacher aid jobs at risk. They talk about how 25,000 fewer students would be served and approximately 80 fewer schools would receive funding. Just one of the areas. Want to speak more to that?
Well, again, that's a case of the failure of the whole situation, because, again, we need to invest in education appropriately, and that's what we're doing at the state level. We've increased funding for education, and to see it go the other way isn't a good thing. And it's more the point of getting back to the sequester. Doing cuts this way is not the right way. They should be done in a thoughtful way based on priorities of people working together about how we can be more efficient, because we do need to have the government improve in terms of how we serve our customers, our citizens.
How would you describe the economy in the state of Michigan these days?
Oh, we're the comeback state. It's great to see the improvement. We still have a long way to go, but compared to where we were at, if you go back to 2009, we had over 14% unemployment. We've come down 5 percentage points. We're the 7th fastest growing economy in the last year or so. So compared to where Michigan were, where we were at the bottom for a decade, we've made a significant comeback, and we're just going to keep going.
Where are the bright spots, and what areas in Michigan do you just wish were better these days?
Yeah, well, it's a good part. It's fairly broad-based in terms of our industries. Most people know autos are coming back, and it's exciting. We're the auto capital of the world. But also things like agriculture are doing very well, and tourism. Pure Michigan has been a great campaign and working well. The biggest challenge when we look at the economic situation is the mess here in Washington. I think that's holding back a lot of investment. A lot of business people are looking to say if they don't know what the situation is going to be, they're staying on the sidelines. So when I did my budget message, that was my #1 risk and concern is the federal budget mess. We need a budget, we need tax reform, and we need to deal with the deficit here at the federal level. We've done it at the state levels. Let's get it done here.